Compton doesn't forget its own. That's the thing about places like that. When one person makes it out and makes it big, the whole neighborhood feels it. And right now, Compton is feeling something electric, something that don't happen every day, something that reminds you why staying true to where you come from will always hit different than chasing something fake. Kendrick Lamar, the kid who walked the same hallways, sat in the same classrooms, and breathed the same air as thousands of students at Centennial High School in Compton, just had a night that people are going to be talking about for the rest of their lives. 5 Grammys, one night. And the school that watched him grow up didn't let that moment pass quietly. A quick pause. Welcome to Inside the Heist. If you're enjoying this video, please subscribe as that will help us on our long way to YouTube monetization. Now, back to the video. When the news broke that Kendrick swept the Grammys the way he did, it wasn't just the music world that went crazy. Centennial High School erupted. Teachers, students, staff, everybody felt it personally because this wasn't some distant celebrity winning an award for something nobody around there could relate to. This was their guy. This was the boy who used to walk through those same front doors, who probably sat in the back of some classroom staring out the window, turning pain and observation into poetry before he even knew what to call it. And now the whole world was watching him accept 5 Grammy Awards on one of the biggest stages music has ever seen. The school wasted no time. They threw a celebration that matched the energy of the moment. And if you've never seen a whole school community come together around one of their own like that, then you need to understand what it feels like when pride hits a place that doesn't always get to feel it. Compton has a complicated story. The world has painted that city a certain way for decades, and the people who live there know the weight of that. So when someone from those streets doesn't just survive, but dominates, when they don't just escape, but conquer, the reaction isn't just excitement, it's something deeper. It's proof. Proof that the story the world tells about your neighborhood isn't the only story being written inside it. Students gathered, banners went up, and the energy in that building shifted into something you couldn't manufacture if you tried. The teachers who showed up that day weren't just doing their jobs, they were feeling something real. Because every educator who has ever worked in a school like Centennial knows that the biggest battle isn't always about test scores or curriculum. Sometimes it's about convincing a young person that the world outside those doors has a place for them, that they matter, that their voice, their story, their experience has value. And Kendrick Lamar is living, breathing, Grammy-holding proof of exactly that, 5 times over in a single night. What made this celebration hit even harder was the context behind it. See, this wasn't just Kendrick winning awards for making good music. This was Kendrick winning after one of the most talked about feuds in hip-hop history. The beef with Drake had the entire internet divided for months. People were picking sides, debating bars, analyzing every line like it was scripture. And when Kendrick dropped that record, the one that essentially ended the conversation before Drake could recover, the streets already knew who won. But the Grammys made it official in a way that no streaming number or social media reaction ever could. The industry, the institution, the establishment looked at what Kendrick did and said 5 times over, this was excellence. Now, imagine being a 16 or 17-year-old sitting in Centennial High School watching your city's son go up to that podium again and again. Imagine being a kid who maybe feels like the odds are stacked against them, like the neighborhood they come from is a ceiling instead of a foundation. And then you watch this man, who sat where you're sitting, who came from what you come from, stand in front of the entire world and collect award after award for speaking his truth. That's not just inspiration, that's a shift in how you see yourself. That's the kind of moment that changes the direction of a young person's life without them even fully realizing it in the moment. The people at Centennial weren't celebrating a stranger's success. They were celebrating their own reflection in a brighter light. every student in that building who has ever written something, a poem, a rap, a journal entry, anything, and wondered if it was worth anything, got their answer that night. Every kid who grew up being told that where they come from limits where they can go, watched that lie get dismantled in real time on a national stage. And their school, their community, their city made sure they didn't just witness that moment from the outside. They brought it inside, they made it theirs, and they let every single person in that building feel the weight and the warmth of what it means to rep your city and have your city rep you right back. What a lot of people don't talk about when they discuss Kendrick's success is the discipline behind it. This isn't a story about luck. This isn't a story about being in the right place at the right time. The man is meticulous. Every album, every verse, every word choice carries intention. He thinks about what he's saying, why he's saying it, and what it's going to mean to the person who hears it. That kind of dedication doesn't appear out of nowhere. It gets built somewhere. It gets shaped by environments and experiences, and probably by a few teachers and mentors who saw something in a quiet, observant kid and decided to take it seriously. Somewhere in the halls of Centennial, the foundation for what the world now recognizes as one of the greatest voices in music history was being laid brick by brick. And here's what really gets you when you sit with this story long enough. Compton has produced greatness before. The city's legacy in music alone is undeniable. But there's something about Kendrick that feels different, something that goes beyond genre and chart positions and streaming records. He's not just making music that people enjoy. He's making music that makes people confront things about themselves, about society, about what it means to live in America with a particular set of experiences that a lot of people in power would rather not think about. He does it with so much precision and artistry that even people who don't share his background can't look away. That takes something extraordinary. And it all started somewhere real. Somewhere with desks in hallways and teachers calling roll and kids trying to figure out who they are. The celebration at Centennial was also a message, not a subtle one either. It was a loud, proud, unapologetic statement that this school, this community, this city sees its students as future greatness, not future statistics. That distinction matters more than most people on the outside understand. When young people feel seen, when they feel like the institution around them believes in their potential rather than just managing their presence, something changes. The ceiling lifts, the imagination expands, and sometimes, maybe years down the road, one of those students stands on a stage holding 5 Grammy Awards and thanks everything that shaped them, including the streets and the schools that refused to believe they were nothing. There's a line Kendrick has walked his entire career between being an artist and being a voice for something larger than himself. He's never fully let the fame swallow the message. He's stayed connected to the truth of where he came from in a way that keeps his music grounded even when it's reaching the highest levels of recognition the industry can offer. And that's exactly what made this Grammy night more than just an award show moment. It was validation for a whole style of living, for choosing authenticity over performance, for betting on your story instead of trying to tell someone else's. Back at Centennial, when the celebration was happening and the energy was high and students were seeing their reality reflected in this incredible achievement, you have to wonder how many futures quietly shifted in that room. How many kids who were on the fence about taking their talent seriously looked at what Kendrick did and made a silent decision to stop playing around? How many young writers, young thinkers, young storytellers felt something click into place? These are the moments that don't make it into the official records, but shape the world anyway, one person at a time, one decision at a time. Compton doesn't forget its own, and Kendrick Lamar hasn't forgotten where he came from. That relationship between the man and the place that made him, between the artist and the school that once held him, is what turns a Grammy win into something bigger than music. It turns it into legacy. It turns it into a living lesson that gets passed down through hallways and classrooms and street corners for generations to come. 5 Grammys in one night. And somewhere in Compton, at a high school most of the world had never heard of before that night, a generation of young people went home with something that no award can fully capture, but that every single one of them could feel. The unshakable sense that where you come from is not what limits you, it's what launches you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this situation, so please share your opinions in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on this story.